Hello everyone, and welcome to another edition of Walford Weekly, your EastEnders podcast, where we'll be discussing the episodes that were broadcast on the BBC between Monday the 1st and Friday the 5th of February. And he's not here to talk to you, he's here to talk to me! Because Rob's here!
Hello, Alex.
Ooh, that seems offensive almost.
Yeah, almost, it was. How are you?
I'm okay. Still, I don't know how to recover really from this week's dramatic. I mean, they've taken their visual and their audio effects to a whole new level this week, haven't they?
New levels.
Whole new levels. And I think it was inevitable that we are going to talk about it this week. So on the rundown of the show, we'll be doing a special game relating to the dramatic Denise line this week. I'll give you a little teaser. The game is called Slow Mo. And then we'll be having a discussion at the end of the show. We're taking over I Ain't One to Gossip with just one topic, and that is we're going to discuss about visual and audio effects that they've been using on EastEnders more and more and more currently. And we delve into it now and then, but I thought, you know what, it's about time that Rob and I have a little chat about it.
Hashed it out
and had a little chat about it. But that's to come. So that's for you all to stay tuned and listen out for this week. But before we do, I'm going to ask Rob, how has your week been?
I'm all right, and I've recovered from COVID.
That was my question I was trying to aim at, yes. How are you feeling? Much better?
Much better than I sounded last week. I listened back. I couldn't believe it. I didn't realise I sounded that ill.
I mean, I'm glad you are better. And
yeah, I'm absolutely fine. I don't know what all the fuss is about.
Yeah, you're living your best life. You're going out again.
Yeah.
You're no longer spreading anything. You're safe now, aren't you?
I'm immune now, apparently, for a little while. I feel invincible.
So, the first story this week we are going to talk about is the Billy and Honey story. And Billy is still very, very upset and still can't get himself to believe that Jay and Honey are an item. They're officially an item now. And he seems to be using his kids now against Honey and Jay. And I think this was almost the last straw for Honey this week.
She proper went off on him, didn't he? Loved that scene when Honey was Honey basically, I think, verbalised what we've been saying about Billy for the past couple of weeks, basically telling him off for seemingly thinking that he had some form of ownership over her, and saying it is in no way up to you who I date. You lost that right because you messed up the relationship. So see you later. Mind your own business.
Yeah, Honey said to Billy, "Not once have you asked me how I feel about this relationship with Jay, or how I am, feeling about life at the moment. It's all about you, Billy, Billy, Billy. All he thinks about is himself." And I think that was the first time, and it was like a light bulb moment for me that, yes, that's exactly what Billy is doing. It's all about him, his reward for being a good boy, for not having slept with or had an affair again behind Honey's back. Not that they could, they've, not been together, but, it just really wound me up that Billy, he even went to Phil for sympathy.
Yeah, of all people.
Yeah, and Phil, of all people, and Phil even said, like, "No, you're not getting any sympathy from me. You made your bed, you lie in it."
Couldn't have cared less, Phil, couldn't.
Billy decided that the best way to getting into Honey's heart was to find a more stable job. And also, he didn't want to work for Jay anymore, because I didn't realise, I suppose we didn't put two and two together properly, did we? That store is actually owned by the Cokers, the Coker funeral parlour.
Yeah, no, I didn't make that connection either.
No, there was us thinking that Billy was just going to, flea markets and getting tat every Sunday at the car boot down the road. But no, Billy was handed to him.
Genuine business behind it. Who knew?
Yeah, I know, which Jay was running. But Billy didn't want to be an underdog to Jay, not only in love life, but also in business life. So he decided to find himself a new job.
So his response to all of that was to become a drug dealer.
Yeah, well, before that, we saw a Bernie scene this week. And who'd thought it? Bernie's a sales marveloso. She's a best
she's so good.
Yeah.
She's like putting her feet up on the desk and going, "Hi, you've probably never heard of us. We're pretty new kids around the block, but we've got your backs when it comes to extermination. Yes, 299. That's right, 299. So she's an expert at it. She should be on telly shopping, shouldn't she?
Oh, I'd love to see Bernie selling one of those mops that like soaks up things, but like it comes out clear when you put it into the bucket. It's just,
Yes.
Oh,
brilliant at it. When did Bernie get this job? And where is Stacey?
I was about to say, a lot of people have worked for the Panasar brothers.
That's true.
For the extermination business. And it is the extermination business they're selling, isn't it? I take it. Because
I think so.
I'm
a bit unclear as to what they actually do in that office at the moment, because it seems to be a lot of very random things.
Because I don't know if there's another business that they're trying to sell things to, but it just seems a bit random that someone should phone up on the off chance that you need a rat exterminator at your house.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really surprise me too much that Billy ended up spending on the phone for an hour trying to get someone a service that they probably didn't even need.
I mean, how does that go? It's basically kind of like, hi, I'm the rat extermination service. I haven't got any rats. Right, but you might have some rats. So how about we come over? No, I haven't got any rats. Yeah, but you might have some rats. How about you let us come over and exterminate these rats that you don't have? It'll make sure that you never have rats. It's a pointless sort of conversation, really, isn't it?
I suppose it's something Billy probably is very good at, pointless conversations. He's had enough of them in his life.
That's very true.
But you're right. He saw that Vinny was making a lot of money through another business, taps the nose, gives a little wink, and he finds out that... I always forget what it is. It's like the balloon gas, the Noxide or something. He's selling...
That's like a Crash Bandicoot villain.
That's what I think it is. That, isn't it?
Noxide.
Noxide. Oh, anyway. And he wants in. And so hands over a bit of money. Again, Billy seems to have money. Did Jay give him a payoff? You know,
I have no idea.
Redundancy fee? I don't know.
This all got very mad. So he basically turns around to Vinny and he's kind of like, right, well, what you're doing, I want to do it too. I'm good at this. I've been doing this since you were in nappies, mate. I can do drug dealing. Vinny's like, well, all right then. So Vinny gets in contact with one of his contacts and then meets Jay in the kebab shop. And then this is a really awkward scene where Billy's like waving these drugs around in his hands. Like Vinny's like, do you want to hide the drugs, mate? Great, cheers.
I know. They've been doing it for years though, old Billy.
Yeah,
Billy,
he knows what he's doing.
Old hat. He knows how to, slide it under the table. He knows exactly what he's up to. But Billy, his conscience kicked in though, because he went to the park and a kid, he looked about 10 years old.
This is what I mean. Yeah.
Was this a commentary on British teen life now? All the kids want to do is swing in the park and sniff oxide.
Sniff oxide, is that a thing? Are we just old and we're just missing out on all these like little fads? No, I think the thing was that it was this kid that came up to him was maybe supposed to represent Will in Billy's mind or something, was it? Or Janet, same age as his kids, basically, weren't they?
I think it was, but to be fair, the respect he showed his kids this week really made me question.
They might as well just given them the drugs.
I know, it made me really question.
Yeah, Janet, play with that.
Yeah. Here's a sharp knife and some poison. Enjoy yourself, Janet. See you later.
Billy is in sort of messy Billy mode at the minute, isn't he? He goes into this little mode. We've not seen it for a while. You forget just how much of a sort of useless specimen Billy really is, and that he'll do anything just to sort of try and pick himself up from the gutter that he's found himself in. And he's currently in the gutter, isn't he?
It's such a shame though, because when he was with Karen, I thought they really built Billy up to an acceptable level.
An acceptable level, yeah. It's a funny thing with Billy, because you forget what Billy actually has done as a character over the years. I happened to come across a list of EastEnders characters that are in the top 10 of like most appearances, and Billy's there.
Yeah.
I think Billy's above, like up there with like Peggy and all that kind of thing, which is crazy, because kind of like when you kind of think over Billy's storylines over the years, it's like, what has he actually done?
It's just a one-trick pony. It's just the same story, and it's always with Honey. And when he had the connection with Karen, I thought, hang on, something new here. This is exciting. I like this. And I really like the relationship with them both. And when Mitch started kind of shoving himself in as well, I was really gunning for Billy to win that as well. And
yeah, so was I. I don't think that the door is totally closed on Karen, if I'm honest.
No.
I feel like there is more potential there, because again, we haven't seen Mitch for a long time, so it's not like him and Karen are in the throes of some mad passionate romance at the moment, is it?
No.
So I don't think the doors are entirely closed on the Karen and Billy thing, because you're right, that was a nice relationship, because I'm pretty sure that Honey has completely and utterly closed the door in Billy's face this week. She's got no interest in Billy. She's got young stud muffin Jay to keep her entertained now.
Quite right.
So, yeah. I don't think Honey's going back there, because you wouldn't, would you, really?
Not really.
Given the choice between
really.
Billy Mitchell and most people, you wouldn't go back to Billy, would you?
So Sharon has been attacked from all sides, by Max, by Linda, by Mick, even by Phil. Phil's pretty much had enough, pretty much said, you might as well just killed him when you had the chance. You didn't, so I don't really feel sorry for you anymore. Phil's sympathies were nowhere this week for anyone. And
Phil was in a really bad mood all of this week. I don't know what was up with him.
He was proper grumpy. Sharon admitted to Linda after, as I say, getting attacked by Max at the pub. And Dottie. Dottie was like, I told you so. That she had lied and that she threw Tina under the bus. And Linda had one of the most, for a week where something really, really terrible happened, one of the best pieces of dialogue I've ever seen, and two of the best scenes, with, first of all, a brilliant scene in the Vic where everyone was like having this big fight, which you don't see anymore, like this big group scene in the Vic where all these characters are all coming at one character, and we
got a slap,
and we got a slap from Kathy as well. Kathy slapped Sharon, which you can't understate that. And then when Linda went in to speak to Sharon afterwards, and when Sharon made the confession, that speech she made when she said, "Shame on you, Sharon, shame on you." Oh, goosebumps.
It was
very,
good.
very good.
It's one of those mad things, though, that you kind of realise that no matter how mad the storyline is, if the writing nails the dialogue between the interaction between the characters, then it doesn't matter how mad the storyline is. Because what we had there with the Linda and Sharon scene was two characters discussing, we're basically talking about Sharon's motivation, and her turning around to Linda and saying, "Look, don't tell me you wouldn't have done the same thing." And actually, we've seen Linda goes to some mad, wonderful places when she's under pressure. Linda probably would do something similar. We don't know that she wouldn't, because grief makes you do weird things. And for that brief moment, that storyline becomes believable from Sharon's perspective, because you're just seeing this woman who is just absolutely turned inside out with grief for the death of her son.
Yeah. Oh, no. But I also liked that it was characters again, and not where they seem to be trying to bend the characters to make a story happen. It was back to being two characters who were friends, who knew each other, and how they as a character would react. And as you say, Linda might have done that. She kind of gave the insinuation, though, that she would never do that to a friend or a family member, though. But I think Linda has done that to her. When she was an alcohol. When she was a bottle of vodka. When she was drinking a lot and had her alcohol problem, she did fall out with Sharon. There was that scene over Christmas or New Year where she had that horrible. Yeah. She said some horrible things to Sharon over the bar. So yeah, it's right. It was a great moment between them, and it really built their characters up, because they are just this duo that works so nicely together. It was just a lovely scene between them. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, so did I. And I think that it also, Linda said I think it was this case of Linda said her piece. It felt right. But I don't think it's going to be a massive bone of contention between them. I don't think this is the end of the Sharon and Linda friendship. Because I think that once Linda had said her piece, and Sharon took it because she knew that Linda was right, and then when Linda and Mick go round to the Mitchells and are trying to find Tina, it seems that they're on the same sort of page again, and they've both got this. They've all got a similar goal in mind, which is to find Tina.
Because I think Sharon was sorry as well at this point. Yeah. Sharon had realised, a realisation hit her what she had done or was doing all of a sudden, and she was the one who really talked Phil into investing into finding Tina again. It was almost an olive branch for Sharon handing it over to Linda, almost saying, "I'm really sorry, I didn't mean to. Would you forgive me?" Yeah.
I mean, I liked most of Sharon's stuff this week. I thought that the way that the scenes between her and Max were nice as well. Max basically said exactly what all the viewers are thinking. It's like, you're literally just doing this to try and get Linda back into bed. Don't try and pretend that you're some form of martyr, that you're trying to do a good thing, when literally all you're doing is trying to get Linda back in bed again. Yeah,
Sharon threw that a lot, didn't she?
Yeah, she's right. Absolutely right.
Yeah. She said it a lot as almost a defence for her. It was like, well, no, he must be lying because he just wants to sleep with Linda. Again, just grasping at straws, clawing her way out of the sewer to try to kind of cover her tracks. And I think,
and when you're surrounded by sewer rats like Max, it's not that hard to try and get out the sewer, is it?
I know, but I did feel sorry for Sharon a little bit, because this must have been so exhausting for her. And it's just the fact, like I said, she eventually I think it was just relief almost when she just said to Linda, "You know what? yeah, I did do this to Tina. I did try to kill Ian. It was out of grief. Just please understand why I did it."
And I don't even think Phil was that mad when he found out that Sharon had spoken to Linda, because I think he's watched Sharon slowly sort of spiral a little bit. it and realised that she needed some form of outlet, and for anybody to tell, Linda was probably the best option.
And also the right option, because now they're able to work Mick and Linda together to try to find Tina, and they've roped in Gray. So Gray's now also been, introduced into the story. And again, we don't know if he's killed Tina, but a lot of assumptions would believe that he has.
I don't think he has.
Oh, okay, that's good. That's good. Because it would have been an awful ending for him.
I mean, I don't know if he has or not, but I really don't think he has.
In your heart, he hasn't.
In my heart, Tina's like stuck in a warehouse somewhere, covered in a pink fur coat. She's all right.
I mean, we've had 2 kidnaps this year already. Why not make it a third? It'd be a lot of fun.
These things come in threes, right?
That's right. Whitney had found a ticket that was in Tina's name.
Yeah, but it was just lying on the floor.
When I was a child, did you not used to get like scrap print-off paper that your mum and dad had used and given it to you to try and draw on the back of?
No,
that's what I'm presuming. You got posh paper, didn't you? You had
just had trees.
Yeah, you had the pulp of paper and you made your own.
That's it, yeah. Just moulded it.
But yeah, so his kids found it and was like, "What's this?" And Gray was like, "What's what?" And Whit was like, "It's a ticket." So yeah, with Tina's name on it.
A plane? What's that?
But Gray's lying to Whitney that Tina had told him that she didn't want to be found. So
it's not going to help, I think that's what Gray is doing. He's constantly just plying Whitney with wine at the moment. It's like drinking white, all right, red, all right. Yeah, it's like, yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, well,
pay me in wine.
Looking after his children. But he had to go at Karen because she just bought him a few like junk food snacks every now and then. But it's fine for the nanny to be drunk every time.
Gray and Whitney are on the move, aren't they? It's going to be a thing soon. So how long? Because I couldn't believe it when Whitney turned around and was just like, "Do you know what? No, not yet. Let's slow things down a minute." I was kind of like, "All right, there, Whitney." So I don't think it's going to take very long for Whitney to be like, "Right, okay, that's enough time now. Let's go and sleep together."
No, I know. But again, I think she feels like Gray trusts her with the secret about Tina, which is obviously a lie. And so it even more emphasis on the fact that they are getting closer and they're having little secrets between each other now. And for Whit to have a secret against the Carters also, that's a bit rare because they're like a second family to her, aren't they?
Well, they were, yeah.
But they still are, I think, in her heart.
Yeah. It's it'll be interesting. Well, see, I like the Whitney and Linda rivalry. Now, it's not been a thing for a while. It'd be quite nice for Whitney to have something on Linda for a change.
Or do you think that she'd use the Tina information against her?
Well, no, not against her, but I just think that it would be nice to have that sort of interaction between Whitney and the Carters again.
Whitney and Mick and Linda, they work well as a trio, and yeah, to have the story kind of revolving around all three of them would be nice. And so as having this secret, this lie secret that Gray has given her could be a catalyst to getting them all back together again.
Gray is literally doing that whole kind of swan above the water surfacing and then kicking like crazy underneath. Like, it's like, how long is he going to be able to keep all these Jenga towers in like balance before they all come crashing to the ground?
I don't know what Gray's going to do, really.
Well, this is the thing. I think they were supposed to be seeing Gray as somebody who is quite capable of just keeping all these plates spinning, and that he's doing it with ease. And at the same time, I don't think he is. I think he's every single lie that he's forced into that he has to tell is kind of clicking another switch in his head that's just going to turning him into an absolute incredible Hulk at some point. Like, we're due a Gray explosion at some point, because even the Tina thing seemed quite cold and calculated.
Oh, entirely. And the thing is the Grey can't keep getting rid of the people who find out information about him. Otherwise, there'd be no cast left in EastEnders. It'd be a whole new refresh.
Grey Enders, just like
just be
half an hour of just Grey brooding and setting fire to things in his living room.
With slow motion effects and music in the background. I don't know, but I wonder if we're going to see Grey just disappear. And maybe come back in maybe 2-3 years. Because everyone seems to think that Gray is going to be this serial killer character. The way it's being written at the moment, I can't see that happening because there's just too many loose ends for Gray to kind of keep having to excuse himself for, or, make lies about to stop people from going down that road and track.
I do. I think the serial killer potential is there.
I do too, but I don't think it's going to happen now. I think that this is... And I hope it might be, because it's nice to see a long-term story being considered of EastEnders. Maybe
even if it's this one.
Well, yeah, I know. And I still have my reservations that they just seemingly just completely forgotten about Chantal now. But for him to leave and then come back maybe in a year or 18 months' time, being a bit broody and kind of having a reason to want to maybe eliminate, get rid of certain cast members. I think it'd be interesting. A bit what we all thought was going to be Lucas's story, but seemingly isn't anymore. I don't know. I just think that if there is a long-term plan with Gray, I can't see him being on screen for a long time. Yeah, for all of it. I know what you mean.
Yeah, because we didn't even see the beginning of Gray, did we? We were introduced to Gray in the middle of Gray, sort of thing. We don't really know what's turned him into this absolute loon we've now got before us.
No.
So, I mean, if anything, I'd like to see some more of his backstory and just get to know Gray. But it seems to be not the way at the moment with these sorts of stories.
It's not the way of the Grey.
No.
Not just now. But no, I agree. When they did that bit with the therapist...
that was great.
It was fantastic. And it really made me angry that Chantal stopped that as well. It was like, oh no, I want to see you hear more. I know, you fool. You brought it on yourself, Chantal.
Basically dishwashing herself there and then.
Are you excited now? Because we've got a new game coming up.
Bring it on.
Okay, so it's time for us to play Slow Mo. So Mo has been up to her old tricks again, Rob, and she has been setting up tape recorders around the square.
Okay.
All over the place. However, something went a bit awry, because when she was collecting her tape recordings, Denise did her now famous, or infamous, depends on how you look at it, don't talk to him, talk to me, in a very kind of gravelly slow-mo voice.
Yeah.
And it caused an effect, almost like a butterfly effect, around the whole square, and all of Mo's recordings have now been damaged.
Genius. Okay, this is slowly turning into Doctor Who plots. I love it. Right, go on.
So Mo has 5 recordings and she can't remember who they are of. So she would like your help, basically who the recording is of. Okay. Now you get a point for who it is, and you get a second point if you can tell me in what scene or scenario that clip was from.
Okay.
So here we go. Here is the first one.
I heard it.
Oh,
I can't.
That's an easy. This is an easy one.
Oh, it's the yes. Sorry, I couldn't hear the words properly. In which case, it's the Cat and Zoe famous "You Ain't My Mother." Yes, I am scene.
That's right. Mo's recording number 2.
Okay. How's Adam? That sounds really sinister. That would be how's Adam?
Sorry.
That would be the live gaff with Joe Joyner confusing Adam Woodyat and Ian Beale's names.
That's right. Good. Right, here we go then. So here's the third one. It's someone singing.
In the bleak midwinter.
I did hear that. Is that Kim at the choir, in the choir storyline a couple of years ago?
You're right, that is Kim, and you're on the right track, but it wasn't when she was in the choir.
When did she sing in the Bleak Midwinter? So it's not in the choir thing at all?
No, she maybe was trying to kind of put something off before help arrived, because the person who was there to help her...
it's when she was, it's when she was giving birth.
Yeah, with Phil in the minute mark.
Yeah. She was trying to protect him from seeing crowning and all that kind of thing.
That's right. That is right. Ooh, you're doing very well, Rob. 3 out of 3.
You.
Here is the 4th recording.
Buttered crumpets, does life get any better?
That is Jean.
Yep.
Slightly going mad over the discovery of Alfie on the floor and them trying to hide Alfie's body on Boxing Day.
Well done. Yes. 10 out of 10. Exactly that, because they find that Kat finds out that Sherry was Alfie's baby.
Yes. Or Cherry, not Sherry. That's
I always call her Cherry. Cherry. Hayley. What happened to Hayley? She ran off, didn't she? And then never to be seen again.
Never heard from again. I liked Hayley.
I liked Hayley.
It was a mad year, wasn't it? Hayley year.
It really was. It was a very Hayley-centric year. Right, how are you guys getting on at home? I hope you're doing as well as Rob is. 4 out of 4, and it's the last one right now. So here,
I literally just smirked at the microphone. I keep forgetting there's no camera on me.
here we go. The final of Mo's recordings.
Okay.
No, you binned it when you binned me.
When you bin me.
Oh yes.
It sounds familiar. It's on like it's in my mental peripheral. I'm gonna kick myself, but I'm not sure about that one. Tell me.
Should I give you this? Should I give you the scene, and you might know?
Yeah.
So it was on Sharon and Phil's wedding day, back in 2014, I think.
Was it Shirley about to shoot Phil?
Yeah, it was Shirley when
I wouldn't have got that. I wouldn't have got that without the clue, though.
Yeah, it's basically Sharon and Phil were basically saying all nasty things to Shirley just because she slept with Phil, and then she
when
got
Sharon
the gun
was dressed
out.
as a bride for a month.
She was. Yeah, it was like a week's worth of episodes of her dressed as a bride, and it was a stunning moment. And we all they were the days we want to get back to. Quite honestly,
Yeah,
I would happily let Sharon just when she just arrives at people's doorsteps dressed as a bride
Sharon
as well.
on a rampage.
Sharon just likes
bride.
She just likes being dressed as a bride. Her Hurricane Sharon, she was dressed as a bride.
Well, that's when we know that Sharon, like when she's either wearing trainers or when she's in a wedding dress, it's going down.
Well done, Rob.
Thank you.
It was out of 10 actually because it was for the scene and for the character. You got 9 out of 10 because I had to give you the last one.
I'll take that.
Mo's very happy with you, and she's gonna treat you to a fry up at the Slaters, not the Catholic. She wants some money now for the chipolatas.
Yeah, I thought she might.
If you guys have any games that you'd like us to play, do get in touch with us. We actually had a few requests this week for Halfway's Hat.
Oh.
I think it's because I went on a ramble last week about Halfway's Hat, and
He's missed.
He is missed because Halfway obviously has a new policeman's hat, so I'm trying to think of a kind of like a rival game for them. You know what I mean? We'll have to see.
Well, he never wears that hat, so he's quite easy to lose, I would think.
Might well be. But if you have any games that you would like me to play with Rob, just get in touch. alexwalfordweekly@gmail.com. Any games that you like Rob to play with me, robwalfordweekly@gmail.com. You can also get in touch with us at that email if you just want to say hello or send us a very long email about your day.
We have had long emails, which I will reply to. You know who you are.
And that was Slow-Mo. Hold on to your hats, everyone, because it's that time. We are talking about the madness that is Denise and Lucas's story.
I don't even know where to begin.
I mean, so much happened, and it went from one thing to the next. It was one extremity to the other. I mean, we've now got another new character introduced. We thought the general was the person pulling the strings of Chelsea, but that's not the case. There's another guy now there as well who's
Well, to be fair, with these big old drug trafficking rings, you remember when we had like the Evie and Jags thing? Not Jags. What was his name?
Jagger.
Jagger, that was it. There's lots of different components to these drug cartels.
There is.
So, we may well see more yet.
I'm half expecting, because of Billy's experience in drugs, that we're going to find out that all this drug activity in Walford, that Billy's final story is going to be that we find out that he is like...
Billy is the godfather.
He is the godfather of Walford, and he's the one handing out all the drugs to everyone. You know, he is the king, and that Jay needs to watch his back, because he's going to find a horse...
around this big old leather chair. Callum's eventually going to track himself down to this big old warehouse in London, and Billy's going to turn around and go, right, I guess me and you need to have a conversation.
There's going to be horse heads in all kinds of beds, let me tell you. There really is. So Chelsea didn't get her wish in the end of flying Lucas away to Ibiza. I was wrong. They weren't bringing drugs to the UK. They were sending drugs to Ibiza.
Yes.
So that made some sense, I suppose. And Chelsea, although she could have easily just bought a new suitcase, because they're not really that expensive, I don't think. Are they that expensive?
I don't think so.
Or just a duffel bag, something like that. I mean, she wasn't exactly hiding it very well.
No,
she wasn't even hiding it in the lining of the suitcase. She just put it in one of the pockets of the suitcase.
I mean, her plan, essentially, was to send her dad through customs with these cases and probably get caught by security. Her plan kind of was hoping that... Was she kind of hoping that he wouldn't get caught and the drug plan would go fine?
I was wondering that, whether she was purposely trying to get her dad basically arrested again, so he'd end up going to prison. But then later on in the week, as I said, a new voice came on the phone and said, we still have a debt to pay off with me. So I guess, no, Chelsea wanted it to go through because this was a debt that she had to pay off.
What, do you mean the guy that she was talking to when she was sat in Ruby's? And he let her off and said, right, I've got another plan for you.
Yeah, Kevin.
I'm pretty sure that was still the same guy.
No, that wasn't Caleb. She said, "Oh, sorry, Kevin." It was Kevin.
Are you sure?
I'm almost certain. Let us know, listeners, if I'm wrong, but I don't think I am. But I don't think it was the general.
Worst name for a drug dealer in the world.
I know, Kevin.
Caleb, I can just about manage. It sounds like some sort. It sounds exotic and it sounds evil. It sounds villainous. It doesn't quite have the same ring to it as Kevin.
Do you think when you're born, then your name dictates your
like
role
when you
in
thought
life?
Suki had an Uncle Roger.
But it's still not been proven otherwise. So you just wait and see.
That's what subtitles are for.
When they introduce Uncle Roger,
I'll stand corrected until that day.
I look forward to it. I want you to kiss my feet. And so the kingpin of the drug cartel is Kevin. Kevin the kingpin.
Kevin.
It is Kevin.
The general.
No, the general was Caleb.
Right, okay. Well, until we're proven otherwise, Kevin. Well, what's Caleb then?
Caleb's just one down the line. So there was Evie, and then one down the line was Jagger.
So Caleb is Evie, essentially, or is Caleb Jagger?
Caleb's Jagger, and
Kevin is Evie.
Kevin is Evie, yeah.
Right, okay, I get you.
In the grand scheme of things, listen, you can't say to me that this makes no sense when the whole story we're talking about is just madness. So you know what? I'm taking Kevin and I'm running with it.
Fine, you can have Kevin. This story went absolutely insane this week. So for a start, I mean, which point of the madness do we even begin at? For a start, you've got the fact that Jack is housing Lucas in one of his houses. Is it Ruby's old flat?
No. Ruby stayed in a bedsit.
Yes, she did. That's right.
I think Vinny lives in Ruby's old bedsit.
Oh, okay.
And I think that Lucas is staying in the house that was occupied by the elderly woman who used to knock on Ruby's door and ask her if she's okay when they were doing the consent storyline with Ruby. Because remember, she got chucked out. There was a little bit of a passing comment about a month or so ago when Jack said that he had to. Oh no, he said he had to sell the flat when Jack thought he had money problems, but then he realised he didn't need to. But he had already chucked out. He'd already chucked out the elderly woman.
Whoops.
No regrets for Jack there.
No, Jack couldn't care less.
No.
Yeah. So essentially, Chelsea is trying to make this plan happen. Lucas, I think, finds the drugs in the suitcase, realises what Chelsea's up to, and then sort of hides himself in the flat while she's trying to talk to this quite chatty taxi driver downstairs.
Yes.
Chelsea, I think, realises that Lucas isn't coming. And then, this is the bit that confused. This is the first bit of the week that confused me. Mm-hmm. Because Chelsea couldn't get into the flat to see what was going on with Lucas, yet Denise managed to walk straight in.
Denise had a key.
Yeah, well, why didn't Chelsea have a key?
Well, because Jack owns the flat, so he must have a security key.
Oh, okay. No, that does make sense, actually. Yeah, no, that's fine then. All right. And so then Denise sees that Chelsea's been let down by Lucas and gets into mother mode, goes upstairs to talk to Lucas, and that's when we get this
iconic moment.
Yeah, I mean, it's up there. It's up there with, You Ain't My Mother, all that kind of thing.
Oh, absolutely.
Denise's slow-mo mode.
Get out my pub. Can you imagine if they did that with Peggy?
Get out my pub.
When she got really angry and she tore the pub apart.
Yeah.
I waited and waited.
We're going to talk about whether these cuts actually heighten or dampen the scenes a bit later on, but just briefly. But just briefly, did it really need that for this situation? Did it really need that?
For any situation
at all?
Didn't need it.
The whole thing that I'm talking about, like not just the bit when they slowed down Denise saying, "Don't talk to him, talk to me."
The bit when they slowed down time.
Yeah, but when you heard the rattling noise, it sounded like pipes rattling, and it was Lucas tapping the glass.
It was just Lucas in his head, wasn't
he? Yeah, and you heard the tinnitus sound in the background as well, like Lucas had just burst an eardrum or something. Was any of that really necessary when we know that in 2010 they had those brilliant scenes between them? And I watched a documentary about the history of Lucas and Denise, which was made for BBC Three back in 2010, and just watching them film the scenes from behind the camera, and you saw the chemistry the two actors have, and they've not lost that chemistry either. It's like Lucas had never left the soap. It was so unnecessary. Why did they do it? It was almost insulting to the actors to me.
I know, it's like that they just keep... It's like they haven't got faith in the intensity of the scenes that they've got already. there is a part of me that wonders, because it's happening so often at the minute, I wonder whether we're fast forward into the discussion that we're having later in a minute, so I won't say too much in a minute, but it does make me wonder if some of it has got something to do with the social distancing, and it makes it easier to film stuff if they're doing weird camera effects. And then with weird camera effects kind of have to come sound, because otherwise the camera effects don't, in inverted commas, work. So I don't know if it's got something to do with that.
But they were doing it before the social distancing.
I'm trying here. But this is the thing. Like, we get it, right? We get that Lucas is stressed, and we didn't. All we needed was Lucas kind of. We've seen so. This is the thing. It's not like this. It's not even a new type of drama scene. To have a character being yelled at by somebody else, whilst the character who's being yelled at is trying to compose themselves. And you can tell the words are getting to them, and you can tell they're getting more stressed, and you can tell the intensity is building in their head until they explode and throw something. That's not new soap material. We could see it. Yeah. You know what I mean? We know the building blocks of a scene like that. We've seen it millions and millions of times before.
Yeah.
Do you need to throw those sound effects in as if we were in doubt about what kind of scene we were watching?
No, absolutely. We don't need to be handheld into this situation between them. And if you even have a brief history, and we've been recapped through the writing about the history of Lucas and Denise.
We know.
We don't need to be reminded in that nature. And we
also know that Lucas is a bit nutty.
Yes.
So if the noises that we were hearing were supposed to imply that Lucas's brain isn't the same as Denise's, who happens to hear these scenes when she's on the phone to people, if you remember as well. I mean, it's like anything to do with mental health whatsoever has to be backed up with all these really weird little sound effects as though the characters are underwater.
Yeah, I mean, that's another thing that's insulting, that as you hit the nail on the head there about mental health, the way that EastEnders seem to be portraying mental health with Bobby at the moment, with Lucas's problem, with Gray to some extent as well. Like they can't tell the story without having to use these special effects, and it's a bit insulting. There was an article actually this week in The Guardian about someone who has OCD, and she had written that she felt like the way EastEnders had portrayed it, it was clear that they hadn't spoken to any charities about it, even though they claimed to have done.
Yeah, I mean, I would disagree that they haven't spoken to anybody. I imagine they have.
But this was from the writer's perspective, that she said that having had or have OCD, it's not something that you can one day have and then the next day you overcome it. Like she used the example of when Bobby thought that through his own actions he had Ian attacked during the storyline, and it was almost like on Monday Bobby felt this way, on Tuesday he went to the police and said that he had attacked Ian, and then on Thursday when they said, oh no Bobby, that's not how it works, you didn't do anything wrong, you just, by wishing it upon him, it doesn't work that way. And so by Friday he was like, oh okay, then that's fine, I'm okay with that. But I suppose it may not be necessarily it's that they hadn't researched into it, perhaps. Maybe the writer doesn't watch of the article doesn't watch EastEnders very often, and she's just not aware that we're in the era of stories only last 4 days now. So perhaps that might have been the mistake that she made. But, are EastEnders portraying mental health really poorly?
I mean, it's a bit mad, really, because, mental health is sort of Kate Oates' big thing. It's a huge story for Kate. She used to work on the helplines at the Samaritans.
All right, cool.
She what was the name of the guy? Was it Jeff who Mick spoke to? Something like that. Was it whatever the guy's name was? All I was going to say is that used to be Kate Oates. So male mental health specifically is a massive, massive topic for Kate Oates, as I think is obvious because she does it a lot, which isn't a criticism. It's an important topic to discuss, and there's many different ways of doing it, as we've seen. So I don't think that it's I think it would be irresponsible of us to proclaim that EastEnders does no research with this sort of thing and just sort of makes it up as they go along. I don't think that's true for a second. There's a difference, I think, between researching it and doing it right and researching it and not doing it as well as they might have done, which I think is what we've got, rather than they haven't researched it and it shows. Because I in my opinion, I don't think they're allowed to not discuss these things with people. This is another discussion for another time. Maybe we could make that an end of a show part as well. Tune in next week where we discuss mental health. So Lucas had this
do you want to call it, for want of a better word, falling out with Denise. Then when Vinny comes home after getting his new hire car that he's able to pay for through the drug ring that Billy is the head of, he discovers blood on the doorstep of the bedsits and tells Jack that Denise has gone missing and the flat's been ransacked. Lucas's flat looks like it's just been destroyed, like through anger, through rage, through some kind of an attack of some sort, which then causes the crazy police chase storyline on Friday. So, yes.
The police descend on the square.
I've never seen them react so much,
honestly,
so quickly.
This is like, it was like some sort of SWAT operation. It was like police everywhere throughout the entire episode. In any scene that wasn't anything to do with the Denise and Chelsea story, when they were inside, you could see all these blue lights flashing through the windows. So it was like Walford was in lockdown, essentially.
I know, 10 out of 10 for continuity. I did love that Jack phoned up and was like, "Hello, this is Jack. This is PC Detective Jack." There's a 126 happening at number 4 Albert Square. It's Denise Fox. Yes, I'll hold. I love that bit. Like,
you can just imagine the police just put him through to the Bill theme tune or something while he was waiting.
I just loved it. He was like, "Yes, I'll hold." It's like you're not on a phone call to like make a complaint about your sandwich toaster not working today. It's just insane.
The police all descend. Callum, he's specifically requests PC Highway to turn up as well, I noticed as well.
I enjoyed a bit of PC Highway without his hat.
Well, I mean, hey, if in doubt, PC Highway's on the case.
His immaculate hair.
Oh my god! Like the fact he wouldn't put his hat on until the very end. He did put his hat on at the end of the episode.
But did you see the hat kind of sat on top of the hair?
The hat didn't belong there. The hat did not belong. The hat didn't want to be there.
No,
and the hair didn't want the hat there. You could
really
tell there was an argument going on between the two of them. The hat was talking in slow mo to the hair.
Yeah. Get off my head!
You're messing my gel up. Then it all went mad again because Jack found Lucas and they had this little Benny Hills chase scene around the square. And then they ended up in the Archers.
Yeah, again, how did that happen? Does Phil just leave it unlocked? See, this is a case where who did have the key? Does Callum keep a key?
Presumably, Callum was the link there, I'm assuming.
Well, so he went in and said, "Oh, hi, guys, I just want to borrow the key to the Archers."
Just walked in, took it, and Ben was like, "Yeah, all right, cool."
Yeah, but I'm not putting a bug under there again like I did last time.
Promise.
I wouldn't do that again, of course.
Won't do it, promise. So somehow we're in the Archers. And then, again, Callum just shows himself to be the worst policeman that Walford's ever seen in the world ever. Because he sat there behind Jack, who's busy yelling at Lucas and saying, "Tell me where Denise is, I'll kill you." And Jack, Callum sat there going, "Right, if you go out of order here, I'm going to phone this in. You've got 2 weeks, Jack. You've got 2 weeks." And then it all goes mad again. And then for some strange reason, Jack makes Lucas get in the pit and just stand up there looking up at him.
Yeah, I know. Was it some kind of status thing? Like,
I think so.
I'm standing over you. So
You're in the pit. Yeah. I'm not. I win.
Oh, God. Can you imagine if they made a game show called The Pit and it's hosted by Jack
Brown?
You got five... You got 5 chances to get yourself out of the pit.
Or we drop a car on your head.
Or a spanner. I did like that Lucas made reference to his son getting...
thing.
Yeah, to you need smacking down. And he directed it, aimed it directly at Callum as well. It was a little bit of like, your boyfriend's a wrong'un. Your fiancé.
How did Lucas know? Oh, don't even go. Oh, yeah, no, that's true. That wasn't mentioned at all this week, by the way. The massive celebrations of Callum and Ben.
The biggest thing of last week, and it's not mentioned once.
Not even last week, the biggest thing of 2021 so far, the event of the year.
And we're only in January.
I know. And then, there's a brief moment where Jack decides to go for Lucas. Because Lucas was like, sat there. I don't think Lucas was even trying to help himself, though, because he was sat there going, "Well, I could, I'm stronger than you, Jack. I've got God. What have you got?" No. And Callum, holds Jack back from hitting him with a wrench or something, and then Lucas kind of scurries away and then literally disappears into thin air because Callum looks behind him and goes, "Oh, he's gone."
Yeah, that was hilarious. They were having a fight. They were going, "No, Jack, don't do that." Well, Callum, you can't tell me what to do. Yeah, and Lucas just skulked out through the door. And
Lucas taking advantage of the fact that Walford is in slow motion and he isn't, so scurries away.
He's got Bernard's watch. Do you remember that?
Yes. Yeah.
He literally stopped time and then scurried off.
Yeah,
and then when he was enough out the way, he started
Stopped the
time
clock again. Oh, he's gone. Where's he gone?
What happened there?
How did that happen? So yeah, and then I don't think we know where Lucas has gone.
Well,
now,
we're meant to think, because at the very last scene of the day, it felt like the last scene of my life. To be fair,
Decade,
the very last scene of the week was Denise was in a warehouse. Yes, they found another new warehouse.
Yay!
Why not? Yay, another warehouse.
But maybe she wasn't tied up in the car boot, to be honest.
Anyone playing EastEnders bingo, warehouse,
warehouse.
Check it off your list. And
I mean, I think it was supposed to be sort of a throwback to the Denise isn't really dead cliffhanger. Remember? Because you sort of it was. I think the way that it was filmed was supposed to be a throwback to that, because it was kind of like door slams, Denise looks up, looking all scared and like rabbit in headlights.
You're meant to think it's Lucas who's going through the door, aren't you? But it's clearly not Lucas. It's not.
It's either the general or Kevin.
It's Kevin. Yes, it's going to be the general, because the general's done a cast card, so we know it's the general, don't we?
Yeah,
and so now we're going to get the full introduction of Caleb.
Kevin hasn't done a cast card. This is outrageous.
It's just a mobile phone. Kevin, the cast card. If anyone wants to do a cast card for Kevin, and I'm speaking to you, EastEnders cast cards, a friend of ours on Instagram, then we would love it. Thank you very much. Yeah, so there's no suspense whatsoever. I think we're meant to be like, oh, he's taken Denise, as you say, a throwback to when he took her to number 1 Albert Square and locked her in the basement and blah. And no, it's not that at all. It's Caleb, and it's clearly that she's been taken away because. But then why was Lucas? I suppose Lucas' excuse would be like, well, I got so angry with Denise, I just went out for some milk, came back, and I saw this.
You heard her nagging in my head like this, talking slow.
I did enjoy that there was a nice throwback also from Jack having that small little relationship with Chelsea back in the day when they were together.
About this. It's mad to think that happened as well.
But it was nice that Jack had that moment.
Up?
But this is
why did they do that?
You read my mind here,
I don't
Rob.
like it.
So
why did they bring that up?
Do you think that they are potentially having down the line at some point a Jack and Chelsea getting together for a one-night stand or something along those lines?
I mean,
I think they would ruin everything if they did do that, but then this isn't the first time they've tried to ruin everything, so they might as well have a go at this as well.
I mean, this story can't get much madder, surely, can it?
I think the whole Lucas story will be all kind of patted down, put to bed, finished, and that'll be the end of it.
Fairly soonish.
Well, yeah, before any of the
because essentially
Chelsea
all this is to get Chelsea back on the square.
Yeah.
Isn't it? It's one of those just things like, right, we're just going to do something mad for a few weeks just to bring this one character back, and then we're going to forget any of that happened. Essentially, this is Chelsea's return story. And then once all this is done, Chelsea's going to need to have a story to sort of keep her around. And if that happens to be Jack, then oh dear.
Yeah, exactly. Because they can only do, with drug stories on EastEnders, they can only do it for so long before it just becomes a stereotype story that, you know, she's upset someone, she owes them money, she deals drugs to try to get the money back, and then Jack will probably get her off. This is it, you see. Jack will probably get her off, because he'll then get them, like he did with Tiff, didn't he? He saved Tiff from the whole drug story thing.
He's good at that.
Could Jack save Chelsea in the same ilk?
Jack saves Chelsea from some massive drug arrest, and the General and Kevin are going to get sent to prison. Chelsea's going to reward Jack with kissy kissy, smoochy smoochy, rumpy pumpy.
Yes.
Is that what's going to happen?
I like that. That sounds lovely. What a lovely end up that would be.
I mean, you know where this is heading, don't you?
Well, what you just said, probably.
Yeah, well, yeah, but I mean, you know where this drug storyline is heading, don't you? Begins with H, ends with T.
Oh, no, there can't be a heist. They can't do a heist.
No, they can do a heist. It's heading towards a heist. Telling you now.
Oh, well, how can they do a heist for the drug storyline?
Oh, I don't bloody know. They'll fit it in anywhere they like.
Yeah, but they won't do a heist because Phil's not involved. Unless they can get Phil involved, there'll be no heist.
It's not hard to get Phil involved. They've already done it in The Archers.
He'll do it for his son, will he? For Denise.
And Callum will say, look, Phil, this has happened the other day. Can you just get yourself... Phil's like, yeah, no problem. I like this sort of story. I'm there. Yeah, it's going to be mad. The maddest week The maddest story that segment of a story EastEnders has done in quite a while.
Let's quickly, very, very quickly then, talk about Martin and Ruby and how Ruby is basically trying to get Kush chucked out of their house because she's had enough of their bromance now. Their fish and chip song, which I will not repeat.
What the hell was that?
I think it was, they literally did it just to kind of say, hey, look, social distancing, but they're doing a batter cake. A batter cake. Oh, Rob. Yeah, a batter cake. Oh, that was just so ridiculous. Salt and vinegar on my chips. Yum, yum. Yes, please. It was like
but the thing was, the implication was that they do that every week. Is that a lad thing that I've missed out in my culture of being, of not being such a lad? I am a lad, I'm an absolute lad.
Well, then you have to start singing a fish and chip song.
Maybe. I won't be doing that, though. No, it was mad. The other thing is, what we're missing out on when we haven't seen Ruby and Martin all of the past couple of weeks, is the fact that Martin and Ruby have apparently been at it like rabbits the past couple of weeks.
Have they? Because I thought the story was that Ruby is desperately trying to get pregnant by Martin so he doesn't suspect the lies, and that every time she gets a sniff of a bit of a rumpy pumpy,
bit of ovulation,
Kush is there, and he's like there with some kind of excuse for them not to do it: fish and chips, alcohol, football, pizza, anything of the above.
Yeah, because Martin said to Ruby, look, you're going to knacker me out, and she's like, well, you're not complaining, are you? So clearly she's been trying this for a while, and I can't believe that Kush interrupts them every single time they're about to have sex. And just bursts into the room at any intimate moment with some form of pizza or a video game or...
I know, it's mad. He was on his Xbox when Ruby was like, oh, does Xbox Rube box? Does the Xbox come above the Rube box?
Wow. Gonna leave that in, are you?
Yes, I am. And I'm proud of it too.
Good for you. Like I say, I don't mind this story at all. I think it's gonna go into some mad, bizarre places, but I don't mind it because it's supposed to be sort of like a high camp, typical soapy storyline, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like I say, I want it long term as well. I want Ruby shoving blankets up her top and all that kind of thing. I'm still not convinced that. My prediction for this is that she's going to have one last go on Max before he goes, and Stacey's going to get involved somehow. That's my prediction.
My prediction also is that we've come with so many theories about how Kush is leaving. I think, good plan that is what Ruby ends up doing, and maybe Kush finds out and Ruby pays Kush off to leave and to kind of not say anything to Martin.
If he leaves alive, I'll be happy.
Well, that's what I mean. He'll leave alive so he can come back, and he'll leave a little bit with money behind him, so he might come back, super rich, or he could come back with his gambling habit again. I don't know, but at least he'll be alive. And that's the main thing.
That's the main thing.
So that was the stories for this week, and we're going to now have a quick chat about the special and visual effects on I Ain't One to Gossip.
You know me, I ain't one to gossip.
We're not particularly huge fans of the visual and sound effects they've been using on EastEnders. It's been probably about a year and a half. You could line it up with the same period of time that John Sen first came into being executive producer. Bit of a coincidence. An interesting little tidbit for you all is that there's a director as well who quite commonly used to enjoy using sound effects, and his name is Christopher McGill, and he's actually now stepped down from doing any director duties on EastEnders and is now moving on. So this could indicate that maybe that direction might not be something that's as common in the future, but we'll have to wait and see for something like that. However,
interesting.
That is interesting, isn't it?
I did wonder whether it was but the thing is, it ultimately, every single episode gets approved by somebody higher up than it's very easy to, I think, to see, this is the thing. This is what fans of programs do, and I'm including myself in this. It's very easy to look at the person in charge and say, it's all your fault. I don't like this aspect of the show, and you're the reason it's happening. Okay. It's very easy to do that. Now, what you've got to bear in mind, yes, John Sen is a big name on the credits at the moment. He is, he's the last name to appear in the credits. Kate Oates is his boss. So everything John Sen does is approved by Kate Oates. Everything Kate Oates does is approved by her boss. So everything that the journey from, final edit to screen will go through a few doors before it arrives on our screens for us to whinge about.
But do you think she watches and goes through the proof of every single episode?
I mean, I would hope so. She's the executive producer. She's one of the executive producers, senior executive producers.
She'd have to do everything. Don't forget, she's the senior executive producer on EastEnders, on Casualty, Holby City. I think she does a couple more kind of serial.
I don't believe that she sits and watches Doctors every day. Put it like that.
Well, I know, I get that, but it's just. As you say, you're right. It's unfair of us to kind of give it to one person, put the blame on the shoulders of just John Sen, because you're right. It's the writers. They must have some kind of inkling as well in the script, saying like, oh, and there's a kind of tense feeling, a kind of atmosphere of music in the background, something like that. And as I said, there was that director, Christopher McGill. He tends to be one who leans toward it more. So if it's a Christopher McGill episode, you're more likely to see these added effects to the episode than you would maybe on others. Hence why there's sometimes it goes episodes and weeks on end without anything at all, and then you'll have a week where it's just jam packed with them. I mean, I'm possibly not as offended by them as, say, other people are. There's been occasions where I've said in the past, I've actually quite liked the music being added to this scene, or I've quite liked, that kind of tense atmosphere that they've added the music to, just to kind of heighten it a little bit. But
yeah, absolutely, I agree. I mean, my favourite example, and I think you agree, I think you've said this in a previous podcast before, I loved the music that was used at the end of the boat week.
Oh, yeah.
That really worked. That really kind of melancholic piano music that then sort of led into the credits, when it was basically just summing up the madness that had happened to all of the characters over the space of the week. The montage, it was all right. It worked. It was effective. You then go into... So that's the kind of thing that works. And it was warranted because it's a special week. It was, a big week. It's not unusual for any programme to kind of do effects like that on a big event that's happened to the characters. Absolutely fine, not a problem. It's a rare occasion. It's when for me, the issue is when you're being thrown effects in, like for the Denise and Lucas thing, it wasn't needed, and it took us out of the scene. Because we know that both of those actors can act. We know the episode was written by a lady called Natalie Mitchell, who is fairly, she's written a lot of good episodes for the show. So it's not that, that they didn't have faith in the writing. So it's kind of like, why? Like I say, the only reason I can think, there's two reasons, all right? Number one is that there's something that makes it necessary with the social distancing. I can't think what that would be, but maybe it's easier to film the intense stuff when you're doing weird camera tricks than it is if you're not, because the stuff that we've seen that's been intense recently, like the Mick and Katie stuff on New Year's Day, the social distancing was kind of halted, and they did bubbles and all of that kind of thing, and they were able to do a proper normal EastEnders argument scene, grabbing each other and all that kind of thing.
Sorry to interrupt quickly. Did they use any special effects in any way during the Mick and Katie story?
Not that I remember.
No, they didn't, and it was a fantastic moment.
Yeah, exactly. The most that they did, I think, was on the New Year's Eve episode where they were doing the flashback things.
Oh yeah, okay.
Which again, that's a moot point. It's like you could see what they were doing. Whether we were fans of it is fairly irrelevant in the grand scheme of things, because the story was being told that way, and it's kind of like, all right, I get it. You're Mick's thinking about when he spoke to Lee about it, and this is how we've arrived at this point. I get it, all right. But when it's doing for the scenes for like the Denise and Lucas stuff, it's like it feels completely unnecessary and takes you out of it. Like the scene where they were doing the heist. I know, sorry to use that word at you.
How dare
but
you?
Like the insane rap music that was played over when Ian rang the police on the Mitchells. That was nuts.
Yeah, I mean, what were they? What was that trying to achieve?
That's the pits of it, in all honesty.
It was the low, and then they found a whole new hole underneath that low. I mean, some might say.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I'd argue, for me personally, I would put what we got this week above that rap scene. But that's just my personal opinion. I'm not saying I liked what went on.
I was going to say, you're still saying it was pretty devastating.
Yeah. Of course, but it's the thing is as well, we talk about directing. We've also got to bear in mind John Sen is a director as well.
Yeah.
And whether you like to compliment John Sen or not, you can't take away the fact that John Sen is a damn good director as well. Because that's why EastEnders is looking so natural with the social distancing at the moment compared to all the other soaps. Because John Sen has sat with other directors in a room and gone, right, what can we do here? Hence the effects that we're having on screen at the moment with the social distancing looking fairly natural.
Yeah, and other soaps are copying it too. I mean, I've been noticing from watching the odd scene here and there of Coronation Street, they're almost using it exactly the same techniques as what EastEnders are using. They're clearly following example, and it's nice that these ITV soaps are seeing it and thinking, oh, actually, they're doing a good job over at the BBC. Let's take some ideas, some incentives from that, which is the right thing. Do take ideas and incentives from the way it's being directed. It's fantastic. But again, I don't think you can use the excuse of there being social distance for why they've added these sound effects.
No, I don't. Like I say, it was a thought as to maybe that's one of the reasons why it's happening so often at the minute. Because it wasn't happening as much before lockdowns and all that kind of thing.
There's a lot of people, and there's a lot of people being very vocal. On our Twitter, I posted basically the clip of Denise, and I put on there, "Good Lord!" We mess around while EastEnders is being broadcast. Follow us on Twitter; you can see us messing around when EastEnders is on, and we make all kinds of comments. And that one seemed to really hit a nerve with a lot of people, and people were, whether fairly or unfairly, it's not for me to judge. They were directly sending that to John Sen,
which is unfair.
Which is unfair.
That's unnecessary.
Right?
The guy's got a job to do.
Yeah.
I don't agree with. Me personally, I don't agree with hurling abuse at individual people because they're doing a job, and if they wouldn't have their job if they didn't have some degree of capability about them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. Would you want them to? Would you be happy for them to continue using effects if it was toned down a little bit?
If it's toned down, then yeah, like I say, if it's used sparingly and in the same sort of way as they did with the end of the anniversary week, which for me worked really well. It was moving and worked really well. Again, though, this whole thing is subjective. I remember when they did the sort of almost trailer ending to when Ian was attacked. Me and you, absolutely horrified. A lot of people absolutely loved it.
They did, and they saw it as a good, as you say, like a trailer to what was about to come, and
absolutely loved it.
And in a funny way, it kind of didn't live up to what the trailer was kind of trying to show.
So it is entirely subjective. Like I say, we are two people who would quite happily sit and talk about how subtle and beautiful it was when Arthur had his nervous breakdown on a bench 27 years ago, compared to sort of glossy, big bangs effects. Please pay attention to us. Soap that we got now, and that's not just EastEnders, and it's important to point that out.
This is what I was wondering: is it a fear that's been kind of instilled in us that EastEnders has always kind of been almost the black sheep in the soap world? It's always been seen as like the soap that kind of does its own thing, does the darker stories. And as time has gone on in most recent history, Coronation Street seems to be doing a lot, or had seemed to be doing a lot more darker stories. Hollyoaks seem to be doing a lot more darker stories. And do you think it's this fear that people are worried that EastEnders has lost its identity, and by doing these special and visual effects that they're almost becoming just a paint by numbers soap, just like how Hollyoaks seems to be?
Paint by numbers is an interesting phrase because it's a phrase I've used in the past to describe Corrie at the moment. EastEnders, like I say, I haven't watched Corrie in a few weeks, and I'm a big fan of Corrie, but I haven't watched it in a few weeks because I've not been enjoying it. And I would agree completely that Corrie is paint by numbers and feels like it as well. That's the thing. It feels like each episode is just more of an exhibit rather than an episode, which I think EastEnders still manages quite well. Each episode of EastEnders feels like an episode of EastEnders rather than just an episode of a soap. And it's got liveliness and the characters are there, and whereas Corrie to me at the moment feels very flat. But Corrie and Emmerdale, and I don't watch Hollyoaks, but Hollyoaks is aimed more at a young audience anyway, so it wouldn't surprise me if they were quite big on all the special effects and all of that kind of thing. But Corrie has been, throwing all these special effects in recently. The past year for Corrie has been quite mad with... compared by its own standards, I should say. It's not been quite at EastEnders level, but Corrie has been using these effects much more than it normally would. So I think, again, it's maybe a sort of trend that the soaps as a whole are going through at the moment. They're always watching each other. They've always got their fingers on the pulse, looking at what each other are doing and the audience reaction to different aspects of the soap. It's kind of like, it's like you said, EastEnders is doing that, and that's going down quite well. We should do that. And as well as that, I think you've also got to bear in mind that, we are now in Corrie's 61st year, Emmerdale's 40th something year, 45th or something year, and EastEnders' 36th year. That's a long time for soap. Where is there room for soaps now to be that individual from each other?
That's true. And I think that's almost another debate about where is soap's place in the television scope as a whole, really. The landscape of television is very different to when EastEnders was launched in 85, and even 10 years ago. It's a completely different scenario where are soaps placed nowadays, and is it them just trying to be like, hey, look, I'm still here, look at us, we're still here, and is that kind of desperate grasp at still being relevant, dangerous, it being played out before our eyes by these over the top scenes.
I always think it's when with these sorts of conversations, I always think it's quite interesting to think of Brookside. Don't know if you ever watched Brookside when it was on. For any of our American listeners, Brookside was a soap that used to be on, aired for about 21 years, I think, and was seen as it came along at a time where it was supposed to be a complete opposite to Coronation Street, a sort of big, socially gritty. It came along before EastEnders, set in Liverpool. It was all very gritty and realistic, and then it had a big storyline known as the Body Under the Patio story. Which
That's
was
the
like
one I remember.
The biggest soap storyline ever. One that's kind of always comes into people's minds whenever they think of soap, I think, in general,
It's always referenced.
Yeah. And then what happened there is that they then had to, the audience reaction was huge and Brookside had never been bigger. Brookside decided that they needed to stay up there and so went insane with their stories. And then ended up getting itself cancelled a few years later when the audience were kind of like, this is ridiculous now, I don't want to watch this. Now, if you watch some of the later episodes of Brookside, how different are they to what soaps are looking like these days?
That's it, though, isn't it? It's the same old adage of you keep going higher, you keep doing more, you keep doing more and more and more and more, you keep getting more and more over the top, and it gets to a point where you'll plateau. And then where do you go from there? And this is, I think, where we're heading on soaps. And then people have always said, like, when will Coronation Street and when will EastEnders end? But I've never heard it more often discussed
than now.
And it's making me wonder, are we getting to the point where soaps are just so desperate and grasping at so many straws to try to stay at the top, stay relevant, is that they're just doing these silly stories? Are we going to become like an American soap system and we're going to have aliens come down soon and like have a family of like, silly things like that?
Yeah, I know what you mean. I mean, I think we're a little way off that yet, but I know, so disappointing. But I think give it 10 years, it'll be interesting to see what soaps are still around.
I wonder if we'll almost go full circle. You and I have spoken off air before about Janine, and I asked you about Tracy Barlow. Tracy Barlow, and you said and something that's kind of stuck in my mind. See, I do remember things you say. Something that really stuck in my mind was that you said that Tracy Barlow came along when Janine Butcher was at her peak on EastEnders, and it was an era at the time where there were kind of like bitchy, kind of like
soap bitches,
and that's kind of come and gone. And it kind of, and we both, I think this was off air, we said to each other, like, if they were to bring Janine back, it'd be fantastic, but it would never have that kind of that feeling that it had at the time, because it was just right at the time. And
because
so
it's for a different reason.
Yeah, and so is it now that we're just at that time where this is happening, and in 10 years' time, we'll be going, do you remember when they used to do Denise's voice slowed down, or they had, dance music?
Classic days.
Yeah, those classic days when there was rap music playing in the background when they were going to do a heist. Do you remember heists?
I miss those days. Yeah.
Because they've taken EastEnders and they've almost taken it, they've done a 180 and taken it the other way, and they've made it real again, and they've made it very gritty. So maybe that's what's going to happen. Maybe it's just an era. It's just one of those eras, and we're just going through it.
I think it's interesting when you think of, you forget that every single era of EastEnders, whether it be in the early 90s when EastEnders were airing their first gay kiss and Parliament are kicking off saying how soaps are disgusting, EastEnders are disgusting, and the BBC should be burnt to the ground, to, the era of, an era I look back on very fondly, what we call the DTC era, with the Who Killed Lucy story and all those massive stories that were kicking off at the moment around this time. All of those periods had people giving it the same level of criticism as some people are giving this era now.
Yeah.
Criticism is not a new thing.
No.
There are people that are loving this era, and those people shouldn't be sort of discarded either, because it's not just for us or for people that aren't enjoying it. The thing is, people who don't enjoy things are louder than people that do enjoy things.
That's true. That's very true.
If you're enjoying telly, you don't tend to talk about it all that much, because you're just quite happy sitting and watching it. You might do the occasional tweet going, God, EastEnders was good tonight, but that'll be it, rather than every single day whinging about it.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And so to end it, then we're going to talk about the louder, the louder voices, right, yeah. and have a word and read out some of the comments.
Have a word, mate.
Have a word.
Give your head a wobble.
We're going to read out some of the comments that came into us on our Instagram and our Twitter and our Facebook group, details of which we'll give you at the end of the episode. But before any of that, we did have a vote, and we had over 200 votes asking, do you like the sound and visual effects currently being used on EastEnders?
Oh, can I have a guess?
Well, the answers were yes, it adds to the drama, or no, it takes me out of it. Go on, have a guess.
Okay, so obviously no would have won, I'm guessing, yeah? I'm going to get a percentage, I'm going to say 87%.
You'll be surprised. It's quite low. 64% said no. 36% said yes. So it's actually,
which I think proves the point, doesn't
exactly. It's not a 50-50 split, but obviously by any means. But at the same time,
not Brexit.
It's certainly not Brexit. Oh God, I thought we were over this, but we're not.
No, I miss Brexit.
But you're absolutely right. Everyone is different. Everyone has thoughts that, you know, they like the show, they dislike the show, and that's what makes us a wonderful human being. That's what makes us all a wonderful species. Wonderful people. I don't know where I'm heading with this.
Genius, Alex. Absolute genius. Do you want me to pull you out of the pool that you're drowning in?
Yeah, go on.
Come on, Alex. Out you come. Come on, you're all right.
Okay, I'm here. I've survived. I've survived. Phew.
Take some deep breaths.
Right, so here are some comments. Tam Trainer says, I hate it. It reminds me of when Casualty put sound effects, so I just stopped watching Casualty. I mean, do you think people have stopped watching it purely based on the effects, or?
I don't think so. It can't just be that. I mean, if the storylines are amazing, you kind of forgive the odd sort of butterfly heading around someone's head for no reason to symbolise something, don't you? Do you know what I mean? Like, I think I don't think it can't just be that. That'd be a ridiculous reason just to not watch something purely. I'm not calling your you ridiculous, Tam. But what I'm saying is that for it to stop watching something purely based on that would be a bit extreme.
I'll dig you out of this hole now, so we
Thank
we
you
helped
very
each other. Ryan Kenyon says, it works every now and then, but I hate how much it's being used currently. Which I think, yes.
That's what we think, yeah.
Ewan McIntosh said, I think that the scene would have been more intense and dramatic if they hadn't used it. The acting was brilliant.
I agree. If anything, it distracted from the acting. I bet those two were absolutely giving the performance of their lives during that scene, and all of it was just it was like it was covered over by the effects. Locust_Ballum says, I love it. I think it's brilliant. So there you go. And also Jack Myers on Twitter said, I thought it was brilliant. It really showed the mental anguish Lucas was suffering. So that's an interesting thing. Yeah. There you go. Yeah. Well, this is the thing. This back to the discussion of mental health, isn't it? It's supposed to show the chaos that's going on inside his brain, isn't it?
Yes. Well, I tell you what, there's a lot of chaos going on in my brain, so I think we need to call it a day today, Rob. How can people get in touch with us?
You can contact us on Twitter and Instagram at Walford Weekly. You can find us on Facebook at Walford Weekly Podcast. If you listen to us on YouTube, please don't forget to like, subscribe, click the bell to get notifications about our spoiler videos. You can listen to us on Apple, Podbean, Spotify, or any of your favourite podcast sites. As Alex said earlier, you can email us at robwalfordweekly@gmail.com or at alexwalfordweekly@gmail.com. We will endeavour to reply to all emails, by the way. We'll be back next week. Until then, thank you very much for listening. I see you soon. Goodbye.
Stay safe, everyone. Bye. Right.
Sorry.
Did you slap your thigh like Dick Whittington there?